Hey guys, this is Maple Border 78, and I'm going to take you through the remodel of our 1990 Catalina Sport Coachman. So our family was wanting to get an RV to go camping with, but the prices were really high. So we kept looking on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and finally found this. It was $2,500. We had to drive 5 hours to go get it and then 5 hours back. So a 10-hour round trip, but it was worth it. Needed some work, so I'm going to go through and show you everything that we did on this to upgrade it and get it back up to road-worthy condition, and we'll give you all the prices as well. All right, so the first thing we had to do was one of the headlights was out, so we had to end up replacing this. That was $15 and a fairly easy fix. Coming around here, one of the big things that you need to think about when buying a used RV is the tires. So the tires on this actually had a ton of tread, the old ones, but they were around 14 years old and needed to be replaced. We got these at Walmart. It was $980 installed for all 6 of these. And then we bought tire covers, which were $20. Next up on the outside, this doorstep was really loose and it was bending down when you would step on it. And so I ended up using my welder and just modifying a corner of this that helped stabilize it a little better. So that was a free fix. All the hatch doors out here, they were missing the little clips on the side of the RV wall to hold them up like that when you have them open. So I ended up buying a pack of those. Those were $7 on Amazon. We also had to replace all of the hatch door key locks here because the original owner had lost the keys for those. Now, we discovered when we hooked up water that this fresh water connection outlet was cracked, and so it was just leaking when we had the hose connected to it. I had to replace that. That cost $10. We also needed a water pressure regulator. So this was $20 on Amazon for this. Connects right to here, and it keeps it so you don't over pressurize the lines in your system and cause the lines inside the RV to burst. We did have to buy a new water heater. The previous owner had left water in this and it froze over the winter, cracking the old water heater. So we ended up finding on Facebook Marketplace this water heater. It was $276. That also includes the door that had to be purchased separately. And this is a tankless water heater. So we have endless hot water, runs on the propane system. And when we purchased it as well, there was 3 really big fist-sized holes in the side of the walls here. So I had to buy a fiberglass kit and some spray paint that matched this color. I did weld up this generator rack here. So the RV didn't come with a generator. And so this is our 2000 watt one. This will run the air conditioner that's on the roof. I also left a spot to put a 5-gallon gas tank as well. So that comes in really handy. The previous owner had removed the air conditioner that was under the hood with the motor. With this system that I rigged up, we can plug in the shore power into the generator here, and then while we're driving, that allows us to use the air conditioner on top of the roof on a really hot day if we need it. The ladder here had to be re-screwed. Some of the screws here were loose, falling out, and so I redid those because this ladder was just super rickety. This is the backup camera we purchased, and so this is hardwired all the way to the 12-volt battery and to a screen inside the cockpit, so I'll show you that when we're in the cabin. That was $40 on eBay. So the wire clips here were $5 from Amazon, and we use that to run the shore power line all the way over to the generator. The muffler ended up having to be replaced, and so we found a muffler on Amazon for $46. And the other muffler that we had in there had like a fist-sized hole punched into it. Not sure how that happened. It looked really rusty. And I had to replace the dump valves. So I had told you that the previous owner left water in here. It ended up freezing and busting all of these valves and pipes. And so I had to replace that entire unit with the valves. That was about $50. These 3 hatches here I'll explain. This is the propane system here. Next up around here is just a hatch where there's storage underneath one of the dining room seats. And then here is where the generator would be, but we end up just using that as a storage for hoses and electrical cords. All right, so before we head inside to show you all the interior remodeling, I have a few things to say about the door. We did have to buy a door sweep. Just the bottom of the door had become super deteriorated, so that was $20. And when we purchased it, on the screen door here, the slider was missing, and this whole chunk of screen was torn off. So we had to buy a new screen and this door slider, which is about $20 for both of those together. We also had to replace this door holder here. And so the original unit, the rubber inside had become so deteriorated that it wouldn't hold the door open anymore when this part would slide into there. So we bought a new one that was $10. We also had to replace the weather stripping on the inside of here, and that was about $10 for the weather stripping kit. All right, so let's go ahead and head in. But before we go in, I just want to show you what the RV looked like inside the day we bought it. So this is the old interior. You can see a lot of browns, a lot of funky wallpaper. We have the stained mattress there, the yellow sink and tub. There is pink countertops throughout, just old outdated curtains. And so we were just so looking forward to getting this thing all snazzed up and just much more modern looking. So we will go ahead and show you what we did. So one of the first things that we did in here was we tore out all the old yucky brown carpet, and then we replaced it with this vinyl flooring that we found on Amazon. So the flooring itself was sticky, so they just stick to the bottom of the ground. It was $91 for enough to do the whole RV's floor, and then it was $35 for all the aluminum trim here that you need around the corners. Next up, we made sure to do a fire extinguisher inside of here. That was $20. We ended up buying some vinyl sticky tape, and we did the table and the countertops in here with that. That was only $9 for a roll that had enough to complete all of those. Now, the table, when we were first driving home, like the whole thing just collapsed while we were driving. So I had to end up unscrewing these here and adjusting them into a different position so that the table wouldn't fall over. Now, I reupholstered both seats. These had really ugly, like blue fabric on them. And so we went with gray. It kind of went with our white and silverish gray theme. That was fairly easy to do. One of the features I should mention is that the dining room table converts into a bed about the size of a twin, so it can fit either two small kids or a full-size adult. We bought a TV for it and a TV mount, and so that was about $94. It consumes very little energy. It's also lightweight as well, and then it allows the kids to be able to watch shows, movies, play video games while we're driving or while we're at the campsite. So that was a great addition. It also pivots around and will turn towards the bed down there so that you can watch TV while you're laying down. The RV didn't have a smoke detector, so we ended up buying one. This was $27. It's a smoke and carbon monoxide detector. Next up was a big purchase, $282 for a new power converter. There was something mechanically wrong with it, so it wouldn't even charge a battery at all. So we just ended up replacing the whole thing, and this one just does such a better job at charging our new battery that we bought. And we decided to buy some fridge paint. So this here is an almond color, and it was something fairly close to the appliances that were already in here, like the stove and the range hood here. And so we just had it match there so all the appliances could be almond. Some of the cabinet doors needed new pistons, and so this is one of them here. This was about $13. I think it was a set of 4 of them. And those come in really handy to hold open the cabinet doors that are mounted this way. Now, the bathroom door here was a big, ugly wooden door that would slide around and it would get jammed and it was broken and falling apart. So we took apart that whole door, took it out of here, and replaced it with this railing system and these curtains right here. So all of the curtains that you see in this RV, including this one here, all around the windows, and then the railing system, was about $136 for all of the curtains, and then it was $45 for the railing system that we used. We did replace all of the incandescent lighting with LED lights, so they consume very little energy and they're really bright, and the light is more white versus the yellow that the incandescents had. We did end up painting the sink and also the bathtub white with appliance epoxy paint that we got. It was $21 for that paint. So it actually used to be yellow. So the sink was yellow, the tub was yellow. Now those are white. They look so much better. We wanted to go with some nice faucets. So this one here was $30, and I believe we got that on Amazon. We also wanted to do a nice backsplash. We had watched some other YouTube videos and found that this sticky backsplash just looked really nice, and it wasn't super expensive. It was about $66 for the backsplash to complete the bathroom and the kitchen here as well. Now, because the previous owner had left water in here when it froze, we had some water damage. There was some pipes underneath both sinks that ended up cracking, so we had to replace those pipes. We found that at the local hardware store, and that was about $10 for the new piping. The toilet valve back here ended up cracking, so when we turned the water on, there was just water spraying everywhere back there. Went to the local RV store and they had that. It was a really hard part to find. It was very specific just for this toilet. And that was $35. Now coming in here, this is the shower. And again, we painted that all white. The new shower head was $20. Also, the P-trap underneath this tub ended up cracking from the water freeze as well. So that was $8 to replace the P-trap under there. And it was really difficult. One of the hardest things that I had to do when fixing this RV was that tiny little space down there. This is part of our water heater display. So this is where you can turn it on and choose how hot you want your water to be. This trim here we had to buy at Walmart, and that was $10 for this kit. Moving on to the bed here, the original mattress was, kind of gross, had stains on it. We ended up steam cleaning that whole mattress, and then we bought a mattress cover. It's a waterproof cover just to encase the whole mattress. On top of that, we put a memory foam. I believe it's a 2-inch. And so the mattress cover itself was $30. The memory foam on top of this was $30. And then the bed sheets were about $21 for that. It's an interesting size. So it's bigger than a twin, but it's smaller than a full. So it's kind of between those two sizes. Now, I had talked about it before, but there were those holes on the side of the wall. It ended up raining with the previous owner not covering those holes. So there was quite a bit of water damage in this area. And if you look here, I ended up replacing that whole wall. So I bought gypsum board at Lowe's for $40, and we had some extra paint, and I ended up just replacing that whole wall because it was warped and water damaged. I also ended up replacing this window crank here because it had become worn out and the gears inside had become stripped. So I replaced that. That was fairly hard to find. When I did find it on Amazon, it was about $9 for that little crank. The heating unit is underneath this bed. If we lifted up the whole thing, the fresh water tank and the heater is under here. The central air lines that go to some of the vents here were full of holes and mice nests. So mice had gotten into and just chewed up everything. We ended up replacing all of that with brand new lines. That was about $20 for the heat ducting. Now, we did end up buying this little drawer here, and we call it our charging drawer, but when we're charging phones or iPads, we'll end up putting them in this drawer, closing it, and then there is a power strip here that runs off of our solar system. So we can end up charging all of our devices there. The drawer was about $26. Power strip was $10. So this is our kind of control panel area here in the kitchen. And this RV did not come with this tank level display. I had to buy this online. That was $33, and then all of the tank wiring to go from this to our freshwater tank and our black water tank and gray water tank was $23. This is a solar switch I installed, and I'll tell you about our solar system in a little bit, but this is a way that I can turn the solar system off or on, depending on if we're connected to shore power or not. This is for our water pump. And then we have a switch here for the water heater, and that turns on our tankless water heater for us to use in here. Now, the solar switch was about $10 at AutoZone, and I believe the one for the water heater was about $8. So this is our whole kitchen area. So all of the paint and primer to paint the entire interior of all the cabinets and the ceiling and the walls was about $75. I ended up using Kills primer to get rid of any smells or mold from some of the water damage. And then we've got white cabinet paint to finish it off. The cabinet door handles, to get enough to do the whole project, it was about $14, but they're a really nice aluminum finish. We also bought cabinet door bumpers here. These were $5. And so these little guys keep your cabinet doors from touching on here and then potentially the paint sticking and then peeling it off. And so those just help it to open up the cabinet doors easier. So we'll switch over here to the bed up here, the over cab bed, and then we'll jump into the cabin here and show you some of the stuff we did there. Thankfully, we got this ladder here from a neighbor for free, so we use that so the kids can climb up there. It's interesting, so this up here is the size of a king mattress. It's massive. And we ended up buying also the 2-inch memory foam pad on here. So that was about $45 for the foam pad. We also encapsulated this mattress with a waterproof cover, so that was about $30 for that cover. And has just massive room. There's also a lot of light that comes from up here. So we put some curtains up on the front, and if you want a ton of light inside of here while you're hanging out, you can open up all these curtains, and that's just a great source of light. So come on over and we will jump into the cab. And these seats are actually fairly comfy. So one of the issues we had was this armrest, like many G30 Chevy vans, was broken in here, and the armrest would just fall all the way down. I ended up finding the fix. You have to take off this armrest and weld a little piece inside that gets worn off, and then that allows it to stop there instead of falling all the way down. So that was a free fix, thankfully. The seatbelt bolt right here was missing. The original owner had taken that off and removed this passenger seat to make more room inside of here. So I ended up putting the seat back. I bought that seatbelt bolt. It was $10 on eBay shipped to get that. It's a very specific bolt that you need. The stereo here was just wired really terribly and did not work well. So we bought this Bluetooth one. It was 20 bucks at Walmart, and now we can connect our phones here and we can listen to music just directly from our phones and use iTunes. This was a cigarette lighter, and I replaced it with this charging port. So it has 2 USB ports you can plug in. It also has a universal port there as well, so that comes in handy while we're driving and charging phones. It also has an LCD display that shows you the voltage of your engine's battery. We did put in these cup holders, so these were $7 online. The cup holders that are there are just awful. Imagine these not here. I mean, you'd put your drink and it would just fall over. So we bought these. We can put our water bottles in. Those came in really handy. We had to replace the heater core. So the heater core is deep inside of here, and to replace it, you have to remove the entire dash. My wife and I worked on it for an entire day together, removing tons of screws. When we were driving it back from when we purchased it 5 hours away, we could smell antifreeze coming through the vents. And we found out that it was a leaky heater core. So once we replaced that, it was good. It was $37 for the heater core at the local parts store. And last up, I had to take off this interior panel of the door because this window here, the gearing mechanisms inside the door had become so gummed up that it wouldn't allow me to roll the window past there. So I opened that up, cleaned it out, re-greased it, and now we can close the window. Also, this is the display for our rear view camera that I bought on eBay for $40. And so that's a really cool unit. It actually works as a third rear view mirror for me. It kind of shows me the blind spot that I can't see while I'm driving, and it also helps for backing up. Hey, before we move up to the roof, let me show you a little bit of our solar charge system here. I keep that underneath here in this cabinet. So this is a 2000 watt inverter that we use, and that you can find those on eBay or Amazon for around $100. This is the charge controller, a 20 amp, so those are around $40. And then underneath this port right here is the 12 volt house battery for the RV. That was $120 for a 12 volt 100 amp hour battery. The old one in here that they had was just completely dead, completely out of water and destroyed. So let's go ahead and go up on the roof. I'll show you my solar system and also some work I did up there. We ended up buying new sewer vent covers. These were $25 for this pair. The reason we needed those is that when we were driving with the passenger side windows rolled down, it would create a negative pressure in the cabin, which would suck down air from these down into the cabin, and we were getting a sewer smell. So the design for these, it ends up creating a vortex that draws air up and out of the sewer system, so it's not bleeding into the cab. Now I ended up painting the entire roof. It was $80 for 2 gallons of rubber roof coating. And I ended up just painting that over a few days in multiple layers. I think I did about 3 or 4 layers on top of this. And that ended up fixing some of the leaking issues that we were having in the roof. So this is our AC unit here. It's worked great. Thankfully, no issues with that. So we are very thankful for that on hot summer days. These are 2 100 watt solar panels. And so you can find those on eBay relatively cheap. I think generally you can find 100 watt solar panels for about $60 per panel. So it's about $120 for the pair. And then about $15 for the mounting kit to mount those to the roof. So if we come down here to the front of the roof, this was where I was having a big leaking issue. And so this had been filled by the previous owner just with caulking. The caulking ended up peeling up and water was going underneath here, which was causing this part of the side to delaminate and then leak into the interior of the RV. So once I put all the coating on top of that, that leak completely stopped, and I was able to put new gypsum board on the inside and paint that and fix it in the interior. So how much was this entire RV project? Well, the RV itself was $2,500. The tires and tire covers were about $1,000, and the remodel cost was $2,744, giving us a total of $6,244.